Hello bookworms! Today I'm here to do my video for the top 5 books that I read this winter. I don't go in a manner that would make it easy for myself, where I go like starting with January. For me, I include the winter months of December, January, and February. So these are the best books that I've read between those 3 months, not including rereads because then The Raven Boys would be number 1 on this list. So these are my top 5 new books that I have read over these past 3 months. The first book being Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I truly enjoyed this one, like, so very much. I did a full video review of it, which I can leave a link to down below, but this story was just so magical and so wonderful. I initially was drawn to it because of the comparisons to The Night Circus, but as I have said before, this is really its own story. It follows a pair of sisters named Scarlett and Tella, and the two of them get an invitation to go to Caraval, which is a interactive theater performance that happens one time per year. It's very exclusive. You can only go if you've been invited to go. It used to travel, but it does not do that any longer. So these sisters go, and the game ends up being extremely immersive, and you're constantly reminded that you shouldn't be swept away by Caraval because it is just a game, but things end up feeling so real, and then the lines get very blurred, and it's very difficult to tell whether it is really happening or if it is just this game that's been set up by Legend, who is like the master of Caraval. So the premise of the game ends up being that Scarlett's sister Tella is kidnapped, and everybody is trying to find Tella, and Scarlett is trying to find and save her before something horrible happens to her. So it ends up being extremely intriguing. I just loved it so much. I thought that the writing was fantastic. I thought that the world was completely immersive, even for the reader. Like, you felt like you were in Caraval. The descriptions of everything were so beautiful. Just everything about it, like the way that things were described, it was so exciting, and I was so deeply into it. I was completely swept away by Caraval. It was impossible to tell reality from fiction in this book. It was amazing, and I loved it so very much. The second book on my list is A Gathering of Shadows by Victoria Schwab. This is the second book in the Shades of London trilogy, and I actually loved this one so much more than I loved the first book. It follows, again, our protagonists Kel and Lila, but we get so much more Reese in this book, and it's so great. But this one was particularly exciting because the Essen Talk is going on, which is a series of games where people show off their magic, and it's really exciting. I obviously don't want to spoil anything that happens in the first book, but oh boy, we just get so much more of these characters, and it was so fulfilling and so wonderful, and I just loved the way that it was done, and the parts with Delilah. She is like probably one of my favorite female characters that's like currently being published in literature, although I guess now she's not because the third and final book just came out, and I'm definitely reading that one like ASAP. Oh my gosh, like so good. The parts with her on the pirate ship, love so much. That was just like honestly some of the best fiction that I feel like I have read, like best pirate fiction that I've read ever. I loved it. Like, it was so great. And obviously Kel is fascinating. I love all of the different Londons. I loved everything that happened to this book. It was so exciting. This book felt very character driven. It's the first book that Victoria Schwab has ever left on a cliffhanger, so I was not expecting that to happen, but it made me really happy that I waited so long to read this book, because now I can jump into the third one and it's completely in my mind, the whole story, so I don't have to refresh myself in any way. But if I would have had to wait an entire year with that ending, like, I would not have been able to do it. That's just not an option. So this one was phenomenal, like so phenomenal. Next on my list is Girl Against the Universe by Paula Stokes. This is another book that I made a full video review for, and I'll leave a link to that down below as well. But this book was really important to me because it dealt with mental health and anxiety, and it portrayed it in a way that I myself have experienced. McGuire has different reasoning behind the way that she feels the way that she does, but I just thought that she did such a great job, and I loved seeing all of the different methods that she used to try to overcome her mental illness and to be able to function like in the real world. And she does meet a boy, and there is a very cute love story. But as I stressed in my review, she doesn't meet this boy and then she's suddenly better. She is still dealing with these issues. He has his own set of issues, and the two of them working together to try to help each other through the things that they're experiencing. It was just done so well, and I really, really loved it. And they were both such sweet characters, and I really just enjoyed this whole story. It's definitely one of my favorite contemporaries to date, and again, it was so good. So good. Next on my list is Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. This is one that I was really anticipating last year, and I finally got to it in January, and I loved it. I really, really loved this book. It follows three sisters. One of them is destined to be the next queen of the islands, and they are separated at birth. They're each raised by a different group of people. And they each have a particular talent, but some of them, their talents are not showing up, and they need to battle their sisters. Whoever's the one that kills the other two sisters is the girl that is going to become the queen. So it's really interesting to just see like these girls that are sisters and should have this great relationship be completely against each other and have to deal with this really awful thing that's going to be happening soon. And it was really, really nice to get to know the characters. My absolute favorite were the Poisoners. I thought that they were fascinating, and I really loved Catherine. I thought that she was just such a great character. I also really enjoyed Mirabella's story. I thought that there was a lot going on there, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that continues. The only one that I didn't love as much was Arsinoe, but I think that there's gonna be some serious stuff happening in the next book. So this was a really exciting read. A lot of people have said that it is confusing because there are so many characters. I myself did not find it hard to follow. I thought that it was really well done, and I totally understood each separate story. There definitely is a lot going on, but the overall what it's building to, I think, is totally worth the read in the beginning. So I'm really looking forward to the conclusion, because this is actually only a duology, and the final book is coming out at the end of this year. Doesn't matter. I'm excited. One Dark Throne is going to be great. And the final book on my top 5 books that I've read this winter is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which just made it into the list because it was one of my last reads of February. It actually just took me a couple minutes to find it because I am forcing my husband to read it. I really think that he's going to enjoy it too, but this just was such a great read. It's an adult sci-fi novel, and it is not sci-fi in the sense that it takes place in outer space, but it's sci-fi in the sense that it deals with quantum mechanics, and it's really fascinating. It follows a main character who has a family that he loves very much, and he goes out for a drink, he gets attacked by someone, and then someone who's asking him if he's happy, and then he wakes up in this world that is not what he knows to be his life, and just chaos ensues. And it's so good. So good. This was probably one of the most exciting books that I've read in a really long time. Like, I was completely enthralled in it, and I was so looking forward to reading it. Just from the first chapter, I was totally invested in the story, and I was amazed at how exciting it already was just from that first chapter. One thing I will say about it is that the chapters were on the longer side, which usually bothers me, but I still felt like I was able to read through it really quickly. Most of the other people I know who have read it have said that they've read it in a day or in one sitting. I unfortunately did not get to do that, but I absolutely would have if I had had the time, because I really love this. It was so good. I know I just keep saying it's so good, but it's because it's one of those books where you do not want to know that much of the synopsis. It's okay to know like the very basic thing that happens in the first chapter, but otherwise you just need to see it unfold before your own eyes, because it was just so great. So I honestly cannot recommend this one enough. I loved it so much. So those are the top 5 books that I read this winter. Let me know what your top 3 to 5 favorite books were between December and February. Let me know if you have read any of these, what your opinions were on them, and I'll see you guys soon with a new video. Bye!